Hey everyone, this is Ted. I know you guys have been waiting on this lab for a minute. I have finally got it figured out and wanted to get it posted for you today. And I have came up with some new instructions for it as well. So hopefully this will help you make it through this web server part one. I'm going to go ahead and jump into it. Through AWS Management Console, I'm going to go to the EC2 dashboard. And we're going to go ahead and create a security group for the very first thing. So over on the left, I'm just going to go to Network and Security and choose Security Groups. And I'm going to select the orange bar for creating a security group. So my security group is going to be called Tiger SG Web Server. The description is going to be a web server to allow SSH, HTTP, and HTTPS. I'm going to stick with my default VPC that I've been using. As you guys know, with the Tiger VPC, people were starting to rack up some charges, so we kind of got rid of that stuff. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set up my inbound rules for SSH, allow anywhere IPv4. I'm going to add my next rule for HTTP. I'm also going to change that to anywhere IPv4. I'm also going to add a rule for HTTPS. Same applies here. And I'm also going to add a rule for all ICMP, IPv4 traffic, and we're going to change that to anywhere as well. Our outbound rules are going to stay default. There's no tags needed, and we're going to go ahead and create the security group. Now it shows me here that my security group was created successfully, and it shows me my 4 permission entries that I've had for HTTP, SSH, HTTPS, and all ICMP traffic to be allowed. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to create our instance that we're going to be connecting to. We've done these instances several times now throughout the labs. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to launch an instance. We're going to scroll down and we're going to choose the Ubuntu server with the 64-bit x86. We're going to leave it on tier 2 micro. I'm going to go to configure instance details. So I'm going to leave it on the default VPC. I can change the subnet here if I want to one of the other default subnets in the availability zone. I'm just going to leave it as no preference. I'm going to leave these. I'm going to leave all the rest of the details on this page as the default details. And I'm going to move on to storage. Storage, I need 8 gigabytes, and I want to make sure that it delete on termination is checked, so that way if I terminate the instance, the storage will also terminate and I won't be charged for storage. I'm going to go ahead and add a tag. I'm going to call this web server. And then I'm just going to label it with the Ubuntu 20.04. Now I'm going to go to configure the security group. I want to select an existing security group because I want the Tiger SG web server or the Tiger security group web server to be my default security group because it's got all these traffics that I just added to it. So now I'm going to review and launch, and I can check to make sure that the security group is configured properly with Tiger SG web server. These are all the protocols: HTTP, SSH, HTTPS, all ICMP. I can expand all these and look at all the different stuff that I've created. I left almost everything as the default, so I'm just going to go ahead and launch my instance. So it's going to ask me if I want to choose an existing key pair or create a new key pair. For the purpose of our lab, I'm going to go ahead and create a new key pair, and I'm going to call it Web 2. I'm going to go ahead and download that. And as you see, it downloaded the file for me. It should be in my downloads. It will be in my downloads folder. I'm going to go ahead and launch the instance. Now I'm going to view it. And as this is pending, I'm going to move and work in PuTTY just for a moment so that I can be prepared for when my instance is up and running. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open PuTTY Gen, which is our key generator. And I'm going to click load. I need to change to all files. I need this web2.pem file. I'm going to click open. It's going to tell me that it imported it successfully. I'm just going to click OK, and then I'm going to click Save Private Key. We're going to click Yes, because I don't need a passphrase. I'm going to name it the same thing that I did before. I'm just going to call it Web2. Now I'm done with the PuTTY key generator. I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this. I'm going to go back and I'm going to check my instance. My instance is up and running now. So I want to put the check mark in the box out front, and I want to hit connect, and I want to go to the SSH client because now we're going to go to PuTTY. So I'm going to open PuTTY up. And I'm going to do the 2 steps that we need here. So I'm going to just click this box here at number 4 from the SSH client. And now it's copied. I'm going to add that here to my host name or IP address. I'm going to expand under connection. I'm going to expand SSH. I'm going to highlight AUTH. I'm going to click browse. I'm going to select that Web2 PPK that I made, hit open, and then I'm going to hit open again. Now the servers, it's going to give me this security alert. It's okay because it's just saying that we're going to trust this format. So I'm going to hit accept, and now it's going to ask me to log in. So our username is Ubuntu, and it's going to go ahead and go through its authentication, and it's going to do its import, and then it's going to get us logged in. So from here is where we can start preparing to make sure everything is up to date and we can get Nginx loaded. So I'm going to start off with the first command, sudo apt update, and I'm going to type these in. I was using copy and paste previously, but just to slow myself down a little bit, I'm going to type all the commands in for you guys. So we'll wait for this one to run. Now that it's completed, we're going to move to the next command, which is sudo apt upgrade, so we can upgrade our version of Ubuntu. And it helps if I spell upgrade correctly. We want a Y for yes. All it's doing is asking us if we want to move on with the operation. I'm going to allow it to go ahead and do its upgrade. This can take a little bit of time. I'm just going to go ahead and let it run. Alright guys, so you can see we've got our server upgraded and updated. So now we can go ahead and we can actually install Nginx on the system. So sudo apt install Nginx. I'm going to let that run. And it helps if I spell it correctly. Alright, and now since I've finally got it entered in correctly, it's going to ask me if I want to install it or continue. I'm going to type Y. It's going to go ahead and download that. Now that it's completed, I can check the version that I have by typing sudo nginx-v, and it will tell me that we have version 1.18.0. Now from here, we're going to do our configuration. I'm actually going to copy and paste these in out of the lesson. So we're going to do cd, then the / etc /nginx / sites -available / and when I hit enter, it's going to move us to that file directory, and then we can look at the file directory here. So I'm going to copy that. This will show us the directory. So from here, you can see that it's got, these are this is the server configuration for the default as it is set currently. If you notice here at the bottom, virtual host configuration for example.com, you're going to want this section out of the code. So what you can do is you can copy it. So I'm just going to highlight it all, and I'm going to use Control C. I'm going to open my notepad. I'm going to Control V, and now I have all that saved on my notepad. So I can minimize the notepad, and I can leave this. When you get down here to end, the easiest way to get out of here is use Q, just the letter Q, and it will take you back to the main screen, and you'll leave the configuration file at that point. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to create the new configuration file um, for the website. So we're going to go to the next command, sudo nano tiger-website. This is going to allow us to do the configuration. So from here, this is where we can add in what we've saved on our notepad. So I'm just going to recopy it all. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to paste it in. Now there's some things that you have to change on here. The first thing that you have to change is right here where it says server name example.com. So in order to change it, we're just going to use the arrow keys and we're going to move ourselves up here to example.com. Now from here, you're actually going to change this to what you want to call. You're going to go right over top of that semicolon and you're going to change the server name. We're going to add it www. I'm going to use my name as one, as all combined. You're going to use your name, and then it's going to be .tiger enterprises. Now we're going to go here to the root. I'm going to backspace over 1 so that I can highlight the semicolon because we need that semicolon there. I'm going to get rid of this example.com and I'm going to change that to tiger-website. And this completes the configuration for our new website. So I need to write out, which is going to save this file. So that's going to be Control and the letter O. You're going to see down here, file name to write out, Tiger website. All you have to do is make sure that green box is in there. You're going to hit enter. Once you get back to this screen, you're going to exit. So you're just going to use Command X or Control X. And it's going to take us back to the main page. So now we need to enable the website. So we're going to go back to the instructions here and we need to change in order to go to the enabled sites file directory. And you notice I went from sites available to sites enabled. So now we can look to see which one is enabled by ls space -ls. Now this is going to tell us and show us right here that the default is the one that's currently loading. So we can change that to sudo rm default. This is going to remove the default. You notice it just kind of flashed. It doesn't really tell you that it did anything, but we have to enable the new Tiger website. With this command sudo ln -s ... sites available Tiger website. We've got it loaded and now we can go back and we can verify that the site has been loaded by using the ls-ls command. Wonder what happened there. And now you see that it tells me that the Tiger website is what's actually in the sites available now currently. So no longer default. Now we are at Tiger website. So now we're going to test the configuration. So our first command, sudo nginx-t. Now we see that the test is successful. And then we're going to go ahead and restart Nginx at this point. Now from here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to load the demo website. This is where the instructions were kind of hairy the last time. So I went ahead and this is where I started to update the instructions. So the first thing we need to do is we need to create a file directory for a zip package to live on. So that's where this command comes in. Sudo mkdir var www tiger website. Now we've got that directory, so we need to move to that directory before we actually load our website. So again, we're going to use the cd command in order to move to that directory. Because if you're not aware, cd just stands for change directory. So now we're going to work in this Tiger website directory, and we're going to get a zip file that's going to be placed in here, and we're going to use the sudo command because we have to download this file as the root user, and then wget, and this is going to be the address that we're going to go to in order to get this zip file. I do have this in the updated lab, so you will be able to copy and paste this in the updated lab. Now you see that our demo site.zip is saved, so that means that we've got it downloaded and it's actually in that directory. So before we can unzip the file, we actually have to open the unzip command so that we can actually do it. So that's where this next command comes in, sudo apt install unzip. We're actually going to install the unzipping file so that we can unzip that particular document. So now we can go ahead and unzip the zip file that we downloaded. And of course, we have to run this as the root user each time. So I'm going to do the sudo unzip demo site.zip, and see it went ahead and it started unzipping these packages. So I want to check and make sure what is stored in my directory. And I'm looking for two files. One, I'm looking for the index.html, and then I'm looking for the W3 images file. So those things are there, which means that we're moving in the right direction right now. So now I'm going to confirm that the site is working and that we can see it. So I'm going to minimize my PuTTY instance. I'm going to copy the public IP address from the EC2 instance here. I'm going to open a new web page. I'll just pop that IP address in there, and as soon as it loads, I actually have a working web page right now. So now the next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to do a security scan on this web page just to make sure that there's nothing that we don't want running on our website. So what we're going to do now is we're going to install Nmap. So we're going to install Nmap back in PuTTY. So I'm going to go back to my PuTTY console here. I'm just going to stay in this same file location. I don't need to change at this point. And getting Nmap installed is going to be the same as it was for installing wget, installing the unzip package. So it's going to be sudo apt install nmap. And then it's going to ask if I want to continue. I'm going to say yes. I'll wait for the installer to complete. Now that I'm back to a command line, I can actually use the nmap, and I can go back and get my IP address from my web page. Now you see it put in HTTPS, so I can get rid of that stuff and just put in the IP address for what I need here. I'm going to use Nmap with the IP address 18.119.163.244, which is my public facing IP. Now you're going to see that it's starting the Nmap, and now it's going to show me what's running on my IP address. It's going to spell it out for me. It's going to give me my EC2 instance, and then it's going to tell me the ports that are open and running. So port 22, port 80, and 443 is closed at this particular point in time. So our security scan went well. We don't have anything additional running, but the last thing we're going to do is we're going to check the configuration to make sure everything is set up properly. So we're going to check to make sure that we can see all the services that are running on the server. Of course, I do have these commands in here. So now, once I run this very first command, which is the systemctl type service state running, it shows me everything that is currently running inside the system. So all these accounts are actually running right now. And then I want to check and make sure the Nginx service is enabled just one last time. This is just to double check your work, even though you've already verified that the website is running. And you see right here, it tells me that it's enabled. And then if you want to disable any of these services in the future, you can use the sudo systemctl enable or disable to turn them on or off. So anything that's running currently, you can actually turn it off. We could turn off the user manager if we wanted to. We can turn off the network time. We can turn off network services. We can turn off the login so that you can't log in anymore. But this was the web server part 1 lab. I hope you guys were able to follow along and get this thing to work. And of course, you know, as we're getting ready to close down here, we need to exit our SSH. We can close out of our public page. We can go back to our instances here, and we look at our running instance. Of course, we're going to highlight it. We're going to change the instance state. We're going to stop it so that we can terminate anything that's running on it, or so that we can stop anything that's running on it. So once this is stopped, we'll be good to go, and you won't have anything running any longer. But this was the web server lab part 1. Again, I'll post the updated instructions along with this video for you guys. Hopefully it's helpful.